Greetings. Today I'll be performing the piece Lead Sheet from the Rockschool Grade 8 repertoire and discussing the challenges involved in learning and performing this piece. There are a few points which make this piece a Grade 8. The piece has an aggressive modern rock sound and has some demanding passages which require fast alternate picking, a two handed tapping part, and some quick hammer on and pull off licks. The piece also contains sections which require a wide range of dynamics and calls for the use of the volume knob on the guitar. A variety in tone quality is also expected. The use of a pedal board or at least the pickup selector switch can make this piece a lot more interesting. There are some heavy syncopated rhythm parts and a use of distortion over these syncopated rhythm parts. It's pretty much the hallmark of hard rock music. Some palm muting on these might sound really cool, heavy and chunky. I'll turn off the microphone now and perform the piece for you.
Lead sheet. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Check. Thank you for listening. The first musical device that the piece starts off with is a fast quaver triplet. Students can build this skill with fast alternate picking exercises in a triplet feel. So, the part of the song, the song which it starts off like so. A good way to build this is to practice the triplets on a slow tempo and build up speed. So, probably something of this nature. And keep building speed as they get more comfortable. And gradually maybe introduce the octave. Um, so that's one way of developing good triplets, um, and they can keep doing the triplets on each beat as they get comfortable with this movement. So they can potentially go and slowly build up to the riff, which goes. That's what they use in the song. Um, One thing the students must remember while doing this is to keep the wrist very, very loose. Although it might seem counterintuitive at first, if you keep the wrist loose, then your pick can move pretty quickly. Um, this technique can also be used in funk music. So when I saw Guthrie Govan live, this technique really enthralled me. So I can. So on and so forth. One of the more challenging parts of the song is the main riff. And the riff uses some legato techniques, and the guitar player must be comfortable with the hammer-ons and pull-offs. That might take a while for a student to get, and it needs to be practiced slowly, and all the notes must be very clean. So, like I said, playing the part slowly will help in attaining more clarity. For more technical fluency, students can try a hammer-on and pull-off exercise. Here's an example. On different strings. So on and so forth. Maybe use a bit of an overdrive on this because it's pretty tough to get clean sounds out of this legato playing if it's on a clean tone or if it's on an acoustic guitar. Now, in the song, there's a two-handed tapping part which is based on an F sharp minor add 9 chord. So the part requires a student to not only have a strong left hand hammer-on, because the first two notes are played with the left hand, but you must have a strong right hand to kind of pull it off, because you're hammering on the third note with your right hand, and you also need some accuracy so you can hit the right fret. So the right hand also does hammer-ons, a slide, and a pull-off. So a tapping is basically a two-handed version of legato. So a one-handed legato lick would. So the same thing with two hands would be called tapping. So you're extending your range of legato over the fretboard. So you can play with arpeggios with tapping. You can play with big intervals, and it sounds and looks pretty cool too. So a good exercise to build this kind of a tapping technique would be to join a pentatonic position. So A minor pentatonic, everybody's favorite. So you can take that one, and you can take the very next few notes of the pentatonic scale and join them slowly. Or you can go to the next position and join them. That sounds pretty good. And if you played 3 strings at a time, it sounds pretty cool. Something like that. So, the hammer-on pull-off part. A student needs to be careful with that part of the slide because most of us, we fret with our left hand, and in order to get that kind of accuracy, it does take a little bit of practice. That's a tricky bit where you need to kind of move your left hand from the 5th and the 4th string up to the 3rd string and pull off with your right hand. What's next? This is one part which I find particularly challenging. This part. And continually try and the student must try and mute the 6th, 5th, 2nd, and 1st while doing this, because the other strings might start ringing out if you're using a heavy overdrive like you need to do in this song. An exercise to promote tapping, like I showed you, would be to join pentatonic positions. Another way to improve your tapping hand, your right hand, is to play a tremolo with 2 hands and keep switching the right hand fingers while you maintain the tremolo. So come back. So that can really help you build your right hand tapping technique. Next, there's a section of the song where during the guitar solo part, you need to solo over one chord. The improvisation section, the majority is on one single chord, an F sharp minor chord. So we need to keep things interesting, which can become pretty challenging if you're jamming on just one chord. One thing which can really grab a listener's attention is a strong vibrato. So you can open up a solo with a strong vibrato, either down here like I did, or even so you can really grab an audience's attention with that. I like starting off a solo like this with a strong vibrato. It really sends the message that the limelight is on me for the next few bars of the song, at least. One more technique to keep a solo interesting is repetition. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it really works. The human brain likes repetition. It gives a solidarity to your solo, and it gives the impression that you have a solid musical idea happening instead of just playing random notes from the scale all over the neck. It may be a good idea to put in a development or two to keep things from monotonous, to keep things from becoming monotonous. So. So you can use repetition and you can use imitation to kind of really play on the idea of repeating licks. One more technique to keep a solo interesting would be to play interesting notes. A pentatonic scale sounds pretty good, but it might become a little colorless. So a few nice scales which you can use in this context for this particular piece, it would be the blues scale. And the Dorian mode. Another idea is to make use of chromaticism. So if you're on the key of F sharp minor, and the more you experiment with these, the more confident you will be while you're using them, while soloing, while improvising. There are loads of backing tracks on YouTube to solo on, so just look for an F sharp Dorian mode backing track and you should be able to find heaps of such tracks on YouTube. The last point about the song that I would like to discuss is the drum solo, which sounds like a really long build up to the coda of the song. So this part would require you to put the volume knob almost all the way down, so it has less gain and drive. But do not use your pedal to do this, because you get the same amount of drive, which does not bring as much variety. So you might want to bring it down here, so you still have a little crunch if you put a little pressure on it. So here's the part. And make the accents really pop out. So and it sounds really good if you pull the volume knob down a bit. And around the end of the solo, where you're kind of going, the picking should be of high intensity and preferably have the volume knob all the way up. And you end off the song with the last riff and the coda, so on and so forth.